Hello and welcome to the How Could You Forget podcast, a podcast where your hosts Gordon, Lexi, and Eric come together and learn about a topic that maybe you'd forgotten about, never heard about, or it's simply too good to forget. So, Eric and Lexi, I have a question for you. Who is the ruler of the United States? Is it a king? Is it a queen? A president? An emperor?
I'm not answering this question right now.
Oh, okay.
All of the above, other than not queen.
Everyone thinks it's the president. However, the vice president right now is kind of a girl boss. So,
and very much a meme. But I am going here to tell you about the first emperor of the United States of America.
Huh?
How could you forget Emperor Norton? You guys have heard about this guy, right?
No.
This isn't like modern day.
I mean,
right?
I've heard of Edward Norton, the actor. I haven't heard of Emperor Norton.
The Emperor Norton died in 1880. So,
okay, we're good then. All right. No, I haven't heard.
We're relatively good. Okay. Well, you all both know that I love dumb people, and I especially love historically dumb people. Based on our episodes so far, we've covered Timothy Dexter, Ponzi, and soon enough, you all will learn about Emperor Norton, who fits that criteria very well.
Let's go.
Man.
Emperor Norton, to tell you, was the self-proclaimed Emperor of the United States in 1859, as we all very clearly know, as he was the world's first Emperor of the United States.
Oh, of course.
There was a brief time in history where the United States stopped having presidents and decided to try out an emperor for a bit. And if this doesn't make much sense, great, because I'm going to teach you how this came to be. Because you'd expect the American emperor to be born in the United States following the rules of the presidency, right? As though you have to be born in the U.S. to become the president.
Yeah.
But for the emperor, they just let a guy that was born in the U.K. do it. So
Okay.
Joshua Abraham Norton was born in the United Kingdom in 1818 to two Jewish parents named John and Sarah Norton. On his own trust website, which, yes, he has a whole website called emperornortontrust.org, they don't even know his exact birth date.
How does he have a website? This is just a historical.
I'd
Yes,
imagine there's
it's
like
a-
some like fan club maintaining it or
I'm
something.
like, how did bro have a website in the 18th?
Bro had a
whatever?
website in the 19th century. Let's go. Ahead of the curve,
He was
honestly.
really ahead of the time.
Very, very forward thinking. I got to respect that.
He actually was, which is the crazy part, but we'll get there. The closest that they can get as to an estimation of when Norton was born was February 4th, 1818. But anyways, born in England to a well-off set of parents, 2 years after Joshua was born, the Norton family decided to move to South Africa, where the father of the household decided to open a ship dealership, or as it's written in the sources, a chandlery. So that's apparently just
a dealership.
Yeah, they just deal ships apparently,
Yep.
which I didn't know you could just go like in a car dealership, but back in the 1800s we're like, this baby's gonna get you so much cargo, like slaps the side of it. But
I mean, I could see how you would need that, but I'm sure there weren't very many of those. Like, I don't know how many you'd really need.
well, again, Lexi, you're already ahead of the curve. So after they opened this ship dealership, the chandlery, they decided to have a total of 9 children because there wasn't much to do back then besides sell ships and make children. So there's not much in the history about Emperor Norton in his pre-emperor days. As far as they know, he tried his hand at business, failed, and he went to go work for his daddy, essentially. But the family ship dealership did really well for about 20 or so odd years until 1840.
That's a pretty long time. That's longer than I would have
guessed. It really is. But apparently around 1840, people just stopped buying ships from the Nortons. I couldn't find much in the sources as to why they stopped buying from the Nortons. He just started falling on really hard times. But I'm not saying that this is the exact reason. But things went downhill until John Norton passed away, and when he passed away, he was insolvent, if not bankrupt, according to the Emperor Norton Trust website. Like, that's how bad that they were off in funds.
Wow.
Damn. Okay.
As I said, so this part confuses me a little bit, and I couldn't get it straight. But if you guys can help me figure it out,
Could you get it gay?
did he get what?
Could you get it gay if you can't get it straight?
I will try. That will also come up in the script.
Oh God.
But,
Well, let's go.
But-
Let's go.
but out of the 9 Norton children, 3 were boys, And while Joshua wasn't the oldest, he was the only one that apparently survived to adulthood, so he inherited the estate. But the sources also say that his father was insolvent, if not bankrupt, so the fact that Emperor Norton left South Africa for Boston with an alleged $40,000 nest egg really confuses me. Because $40,000 is the equivalent of about $8 million, or no, like, sorry, not 8 million.
800,000,
roughly under $1 million, I think. So,
I mean, even in today's money, if someone was like, "Oh, I'm pretty bankrupt, but here's $40,000," that's still
exactly,
that's still quite a bit of money. I mean, it's not like rich or anything, but like you're definitely not bankrupt if you have $40,000 to give somebody.
But there's not exactly a conspiracy, but there's a thought that he didn't leave for America until after his father died. He died before. And so some people think that he took the money, which in turn might have helped him lead his father to become insolvent. So it's quite confusing, and there's no proof, but it's just very suspicious either way that you cut it. But anyways, pre-Emperor Norton landed in Boston in 1846, and somehow between 1846 and 1849, he left Boston, arrived in Rio de Janeiro, sailed around the Horn of South Africa, and might have made a bunch of money off of investments in South America. Because as soon as Norton landed in San Francisco again, he went all the way around.
He traveled around the Horn of South America or South Africa?
South America, sorry, I misspoke there.
Oh, South America, okay.
But he went around the Horn of South America and then ended up in San Francisco. And while he was there, he started the Joshua Norton and Company, which is what it was called. And by then, he had turned his $40,000 into $250,000, or over $8 million today within those 3 years of 1846 to 1849. It's not really clear at all.
Can you give me a little bit of a historical thing? Was this like when the West was going through like the gold rush, or was this is post gold rush?
I think the gold rush was technically the 1900s, or like the late 1800s and the 1900s, I believe.
Okay, so he's pre-gold rush over
pre-gold rush.
Damn.
All right.
But this made Norton extremely rich in San Francisco and considered a widely successful businessman, as you could expect. If you just land there with $8 million and say, I'm going to start making businesses and stuff. And if this was Timothy Dexter's story, he would have somehow made that $250,000 into $250 million.
Timothy, my goat!
He's the goat. I know. Norton is not lucky as Timothy Dexter, which again makes Timothy Dexter's story even crazier.
Oh, no.
Because a rice famine happened to strike China around that same time. And seeing a business opportunity, Norton bought a bunch of rice at 12 cents a pound to try to corner the market. Because, oh, hey, there's a famine, I'll buy up all this rice and then sell it for a bunch.
So the rice had already been imported to the U.S. and he was going to try to buy it ahead so he could charge people more?
I think he bought rice from another source because shortly after this, as we're going to come to find, a very large boat, literally boatloads of higher quality rice, I believe from South America, showed up the next day.
Oh my gosh.
And so when he signed this very expensive contract, multiple boatloads of this high quality rice flooded in that plummeted his rice that he bought at 12 cents a pound to be only worth 3 cents a pound because it was low quality rice.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
Try to take advantage of people. That's what happened. Because see, that's the thing about Timothy Dexter. He, to my knowledge, it didn't really seem like he wanted to take advantage of people. He just took this stuff and was like, maybe I can sell this to these people. And he managed to get lucky because they were like, man, we needed this. But like this Norton fellow was like, haha, there's a famine. I'm going to buy rice and then maybe I can sell it.
Yeah, then I'm going to upcharge it so people have to pay to stay alive.
So, in doing that, again, you're very, very right, Lexi. Eventually this all came out and things were fine. But for Norton, he lost thousands upon thousands of dollars. He actually tried to fight the contract in the courts for years and years, and he ended up losing the court case, which again even cost him more money. So he went from being
what was his argument for like saying that the contract was bad? Like
there's like, not much in the sources, but basically that like I was swindled because I bought this low quality rice at a high rate. I should be reimbursed, and then they're just like, nah, bad deal, bro. Basically,
like,
yeah, what the hell?
You bought a bunch of it. Sorry,
dude. You took a gamble and you lost. That's how that works.
He lost.
But I bought eggs at $4.50, and next week they were down to only $4. I should get my 50 cents
Okay,
back.
that's
You
like real
should,
for
Lexi.
today.
That's how it works. That's really how it should. I'm just kidding. But so because of all this bad timing and stuff like this, Norton ended up slipping into what is believed to be a reclusive, depressive era of his. He was not seen around town. He was not shown much. Everybody kind of forgotten about him, and his business basically went bottoms up. But
He's
in that,
not an emperor yet, is he?
no, he is not an emperor. You were about to
Okay.
get to emperorship, though.
Sorry.
But-
Okay. All right.
But Norton,
You gotta be reclusive and depressed. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta be
Yes.
in your reclusive, depressive era before you can become a president. That's in the Constitution, actually.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm halfway there.
Let's go.
oh my God, she's not reclusive.
Which half? I won't tell you.
But Norton ended up in this depressive time. He ran for U.S. Congress in 1858, but his name wasn't even on the ballot. And so he lost him even more things. It lost him more money and time and made him even more depressed. And he ended up sleeping out of a boarding house, a far cry from the essentially multi-million-dollar lifestyle that he had previously when
How
he
did
was...
he lose all his money? Did he buy just that much rice with his millions of dollars?
I think he tried to...
Equivalency?
I mean, I think so. And then I think also just bad business deals over and over just led him to this point. But
bro, just chill.
Also, I gotta
buy a
say,
house and chill.
he was a real trendsetter for like getting a bunch of money, like without really earning it, having a very shit business venture, losing all of it, and then going into politics. I feel like that is a real.
Man, yeah, you know
There's some
what?
Why is
parallels
that
here.
prominent?
You could draw.
You know what? Yeah,
why is that prominent?
he was the trailblazer. Wow.
But
it's-
anyways,
It's wild. Sorry, go on.
forged in the fires of this crushing debt, loss, and being in the state of California, on September 17th, 1859, Emperor Norton made a proclamation. And he hand-delivered this proclamation to a local newspaper called the Bulletin. And I quote, "At the peremptory request of a large majority of the citizens of the United States, I, Joshua Norton, formerly of Algoa Bay, Cape of Good Hope, and now for the last 9 years and 10 months past of San Francisco, California, declare and proclaim myself Emperor of the United States. And in virtue of the authority thereby in me vested, do hereby order and direct the representatives of the United States of the Union to assemble in musical hall of this city on the first day of February next, then and there to make such alterations in the existing laws of the Union as may ameliorate the evils under which the country is laboring, and thereby cause confidence to exist both at home and abroad in our stability and integrity. Signed, Norton the First, Emperor of the United States."
Okay, buddy.
Okay, bud.
What are you saying?
Yeah, if I put on a crown and go out to my backyard and proclaim myself to be emperor of my backyard, does that
Yes.
that holds about
That's
the
how it
same weight?
works.
Well, Lexi, here's
Yeah.
here's the catch,
Oh my
right?
god.
If you did this in your backyard and nobody, it's that thing of if a tree falls in the forest and no one is here can hear it, does anything happen?
Should I post on my neighborhood app?
Yeah.
Be like, hey,
Yes,
hey
on
guys,
next
by
door.
the
If
way,
you put on next door, I am now
Yeah.
the emperor of our neighborhood.
I am now emperor of said neighborhood by proclamation and power of my own
of
self.
my
Yeah.
own self. Now, if you were sane, you'd probably read this, be like, "That's crazy, bro," and move on with your day, as we all literally just did.
Yeah.
Yes.
But because the Bulletin, the newspaper that got this proclamation, found it so humorous, they printed the letter in the evening paper.
Oh no! Do not give this guy any legitimacy. No,
And thus,
bro, this is gonna be like a.
I can already tell Lexi's gonna have a fun time with this episode.
it's-
Yeah,
She's gonna have a brain aneurysm by the end of it. Oh no.
yes,
Yeah.
you will. Lexi, continue. You were saying, sorry.
Oh no, I lost my thought.
Oh.
Just go ahead.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I published it in the fucking news. Oh, it didn't.
Oh,
But,
Published it in the newspaper.
yep. Published it in the newspaper, and thus this fueled Norton, the first emperor of the United States, and making him emperor in his own eyes. So, from this point on, Emperor Norton would always wear his usually blue military uniform, sometimes gray, with gold-plated shoulder ornaments. Would
Where
wear
is he in the military?
Huh? there's no proof at all
Whose
that he was in the military.
Was he a part of?
Huh?
Okay, so what? Don in his military uniform?
Yeah, he's just wearing.
What's he cosplaying?
Probably just got it from
maybe.
somewhere. Just
Maybe he is,
Oh my
Lexi. Maybe
goodness.
we'll
Maybe
learn
he-
more about that in a little bit.
maybe he popped by the Goodwill. I don't know. We'll see.
But he would wear a wide variety of hats, ranging from a beaver hat with an ostrich plume to a cavalry hat, and he would wear a large sword on his hip at all times. And with the newfound power that this outfit and calling him emperor gave him, he made it an imperial decree in January of 1860 to summon the army and depose the elected officials of the United States Congress. The army and Congress did not oblige, sadly.
Oh,
Whoa.
disobeying the emperor.
Shock.
You're disobeying the emperor, which is just a shame.
How dare?
And so Norton issued a second decree in July of 1860 after the South seceded and ordered the dissolution of the republic in favor of a monarchy.
Yeah, that's gonna go over real well.
Yeah, especially after the Civil War.
Exactly. And so, Eric, thank you. After the Civil War broke out, Emperor Norton, with his infinite power, ordered both the Roman Catholic Church as well as the Protestant Church to publicly name him and ordain him as emperor to stop the Civil War.
As if either of those entities gave a crap.
Lexi,
Like,
they didn't follow his orders again, but we all in our hearts know that he was the true
Yes.
emperor that stopped the Civil
we know.
War.
oh yeah, okay.
Thank you,
Oh, my
Emperor
goodness.
Norton, for your efforts in
He's like,
stopping
listen,
the Civil
states' rights? No, states have no rights. I am king.
I am not
No
king
states have
emperor.
rights. Only Emperor Norton has rights.
Yes.
That's the way the Civil War
Gosh.
should have gone.
Yes. Now, there's
no.
about 10 more decrees he makes over his lifetime as emperor.
Wow.
He abolished the Democratic and Republican parties in 1869, stating, quote, "Desirous of allaying the dissensions of party strife now existing within our realm," end quote. I don't know what that means, but if you're smart, maybe that makes sense.
Is he saying that like we shouldn't have two-party
Party system? I
or
think
I was
that's
gonna
kind
say,
of
if
what
he's
he's
trying to,
saying.
Parties at
if he's
all.
trying to dissolve the two-party system, then he's got my vote. Honestly,
Yeah.
or
I'm for
I guess he
that,
doesn't need my
but
vote if he's emperor. But like you know what I mean.
He doesn't need it. He's already emperor.
Yeah.
Come on, Eric.
he has your support.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
after feeling like the city of San Francisco from which he lived in, it was not getting enough respect from the rest of the United States. Emperor Norton banned the use of the name Frisco for San Francisco, and you would be charged a $25 fine for saying those cursed words. And the fact that never in my life have I ever heard someone call San Francisco Frisco means I think this one actually worked.
I mean, was Frisco
Did
like a
anybody
thing
call
people
it
said?
that ever?
Like ever?
I'm assuming back in the day, if you had to make a whole
mean-
proclamation that says, "Hey, Frisco's banned," then it had to have been said at one point.
I guess so, but I,
I mean,
wonder
I
if
know
maybe he
there's
just
eventually
hallucinated someone saying it or something and then decided it was bad. Because I've never heard San Francisco.
I know that there's a Frisco, Texas, but I think that probably came way later. I don't think that was part of the problem. I don't think they were getting confused.
I don't think they were either. I think, like he said, it sounds as though it was a disrespectful name to call it instead of the full San Francisco. It was a very
Oh.
disrespectful title to call it Frisco. But
Oh, okay.
one of the other decrees, after a year or so of being Emperor of the United States, as we know, he also just added the additional title of Protector of Mexico on. And so he is
Okay.
the Emperor of the
All
United
right.
States of America, and Protector of Mexico is his full title.
Not to get political,
Okay.
but already doing better than the current administration. Anyway.
But we can thank
Right.
so we can thank Emperor Norton for being the sole reason Mexico is still alive, because he protected it all these
Oh.
years. So
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Now, Lexi, you've loved how crazy this has already gone, correct?
Sure.
Well, you're gonna love this whole next section because it's all bonkers.
Oh.
But
As if it
Yay.
hasn't been bonkers already.
so, Eric, the reason why it's not bonkers is because you and I and Lexi hearing all this can go, man, that's crazy. This just sounds like a delusional fella. But San Francisco loved their emperor. Emperor Norton,
Well, it sounds like he fought for the people. So.
he did actually.
And Mexico.
And Mexico, he's the protector of Mexico, yes.
Yeah.
Emperor Norton walked the streets of San Francisco and would take note of the condition of the city, ranging from the sidewalks and train cars to public buildings and even the uniforms of police officers. He could be seen at public lectures and debates, as well as the library, reading the daily newspaper to keep up with what's going on in the city, and even attended meetings of the state legislature. So he was just very well seen in the city and all this stuff.
Damn, all right.
Emperor Norton supposedly could walk into most restaurants and eat for free, either paid for by the restaurant owners themselves, the Freemasons, which he was part of, or just local San Franciscoans paying their respect to the emperor.
All right.
Emperor Norton would receive free clothes either from the city itself or from the residents of the city to help keep their emperor clothed and looking nice. But one source says that the clothes people claim...
Wait, there's a movie about that.
The Emperor's New Clothes, yeah.
That's...
I can't believe he inspired the Emperor's New Clothes.
He did.
Crazy.
It was all him. But one source says the clothes people claimed were given by the city aren't really sure if that's true or not. As I mentioned earlier, his regular uniform was a second-hand military uniform from the Civil War. Sometimes a Confederate one, sometimes a Union uniform, because he thought it was best to maintain neutrality in the war, he said.
Oh, he's one of those.
Oh,
okay,
my
all right. God damn it, man. You were doing so good.
I know, but it's
Maintain neutrality by I will wear outfits of both.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not really certain how
Alright.
much the city helped the emperor out, at least when it comes to clothing, because some sources say that he would always turn down these clothes. Others would say that he would accept the military uniforms because they made him look proper. But as for the townsfolk and the business owners, they loved their emperor a lot. He would be given the best seats in the house at stage shows and musicals, free, of course. If a new show opened up and he wasn't seen in the audience, it could be seen as a bad sign that the show was doomed from the start.
I feel like he's an early age influencer where like he was paid to be at shows because people would be like, "Oh, my man."
Oh, the emperor's
He's
here.
in sponsorships all the time.
Yeah.
And if he publicly dissents like different plays and everything, that just means it goes under. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Like,
he's the
they put
original
the spotlight
influencer.
on
He's the
him.
original influencer.
There you go. There's a title for you.
There you go. How could you forget the original influencer?
But he's in the front row at the play. They put the spotlight on him. We got Emperor Norton here. Woo!
Oh, he was no.
Yeah.
Apparently, he would always be in the front row of the balcony, like right at the very front of the balcony, so
Oh.
people could see him from the below and the actors. So
They could get his judgments.
Oh, okay.
they could. He just sits there with his thumb out, like at a neutral position. If it's doing well or bad, he'll just like lower it or raise it. No, that wasn't what happened. But one source says that a bar called Martin and Horton's in San Francisco, where you could get a brandy smash, which would cost $0.25, but would also provide a meal with the drink, which included soup, boiled salmon, roast beef, bread and butter, potatoes, tomatoes, crackers, and cheese. Yes, all of that for $0.25 as a bonus added
Wow.
onto your drink.
Huh.
Would give him the meal that came free with the drink without giving him the actual drink. So just as a nice
Okay.
thing of stuff like that. And while there's plenty of tales of Emperor Norton eating at these establishments and receiving clothes, a lot of sources say that he rarely ate meals at restaurants at all, and he would mostly eat at his very modest boarding house accommodation that either himself, a member of the Freemasons, an imperial subject, or just the board house themselves.
Excuse me, an imperial subject?
That's what he called the people in San Francisco, of course, Lex.
Oh my god.
They were all his imperial subjects.
Of course. But they would pay 50 cents a day for his 9 by 6 foot room. That's where the emperor lived, in a 9 by 6 foot room that was not very well furnished at all, if you can believe it. But
Yeah.
But whenever Norton approved of a local establishment, he would dish out imperial seals of approval, and the restaurants would place brass plaques at their entrances that said, quote, "By appointment to His Imperial Majesty Emperor Norton I of the United States," end quote. And those brass plaques would then boost sales as the emperor himself would approve of the establishment.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love this guy. He's crazy.
Oh, I love him. Okay. All right.
But while it's not certain just how much the U.S. government or San Francisco helped out their emperor, sometimes they wouldn't need to, as Emperor Norton began to. I had to ask you a question, Lexi and Eric. What would you like to guess Emperor Norton gave out to people?
Oh gosh,
Like
I don't
Norton
even know.
coin or something.
Norton coin.
That's the first
The original cryptocurrency. Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Exactly.
But it's actual physical, like it's a coin with
Yeah.
his face on it. Or
Physical
his name on it or
crypto. Someone should
something.
invent that. Anyway,
They should.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got it very quickly. Yes. He started to print his own currency.
Oh, I knew it.
I mean, see, I was thinking Lexi saying it as a joke, so I was like, nah, that'd be crazy. Anyway, what would he actually do? Oh, okay.
No, I was thinking it was some sort of money.
Here, I can send a photo of a Norton dollar really quick.
Give me the Norton dollar.
A dollar.
I'll
Nala.
put it here.
Nala dollars.
That is a printed imperial $5 note from Emperor Norton himself.
Wow.
Oh, this would be an honor. I'd frame that shit, hang it up on my wall. Be perfect.
Eric, thank you for mentioning that, because
God
Norton
damn. Okay.
Norton dollars would be made ranging in value from 50 cents all the way up to $10. And collectors absolutely love these dollars, or these currency notes, because you can try to buy one right now. Again, they're very rare, but they can fetch anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, at least back in 2019.
Well, of course, because they're.
I mean, they
so
are very
rare.
novel. They are
very novel. Yes, the notes were payable at 7% interest in 1880. And the very, very best part about these is that people would honor these notes. They would actually take these as payment for goods and services.
No
back
way.
Yeah.
I mean, if they love their emperor, right?
Exactly. From the city of San
Maybe
Francisco.
that's how he ate for free. He gave him his own printed dollar and
Yup.
got a plate of food.
Yeah, it's like, no, I couldn't possibly take this for free. Just like hands them a Norton
No, here
coin.
you go.
A useless dollar.
Useless, Lexi. They're so expensive.
Exactly. You can make a killing with them. It's an investment
could.
opportunity.
But the love for Emperor Norton extended even into the opera. As in October 1861, which, if you remember, was 2 years after he declared himself emperor, a comic opera, which I had never heard of, titled Norton the First, was released, in which they call him emperor in the actual opera itself.
Ooh.
The local and city directories called him emperor, and even the census of 1870 labeled him as Emperor Norton.
I mean, maybe he just changed his first name to Emperor.
I don't know, honestly. That could be the explanation for all of it. But newspapers across the country apparently made mention of Emperor Norton. He had become almost an entire tourism symbolism in and of himself for San Francisco, because local shops would even sell Emperor Norton memorabilia, including plaster figurines of the emperor in his likeness.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh, no, I forgot how crazy this is. There are two specific incidents that I need to mention about our emperor before the end of this episode, as they are just fantastic. And the rest of it's been great too, but this is just fantastic. The first is that while Emperor Norton was walking the streets one day, doing his daily inspections of the empire, an anti-Chinese riot had broken out in one of the poorer districts of San Francisco. And as things escalated on the anti-Chinese front, they began to head towards a crowd of Chinese residents intent on escalating the situation and causing, of course, pain and hurting people. But Emperor Norton, seeing this, stepped in between them, and with all his power essentially pulled a Kendall Jenner. He stepped in between the rioters and the Chinese, bowed his head, recited the Lord's Prayer over and over, and then the rioters just left.
What?
He just gave
Okay,
them.
so
He
wait.
just gave them the metaphorical can of Pepsi and it just solved racism. He did. That's my emperor. Let's go. Sorry, Lexi. What do you say?
Oh, Lexi, what's up?
Oh, she's speechless.
Well, I was trying to figure. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the. So it was groups of Chinese immigrants fighting with people who were anti-Chinese.
No,
or
the
they were
Chinese
all
people were just
anti-Chinese?
chilling there. Like, they were just trying to do their
Oh,
stuff.
okay. They were just chilling.
Yeah, it was some like xenophobic
and-
protest or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then people came up and started bothering them.
They were on the, like, basically imagine a riot breaking out, and they were headed towards a crowd of Chinese people. Essentially, you could expect to probably beat the crap out of them, if not hurt them more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then Emperor Norton
He just
stepped
stood
and
in
was
between
like,
them and just
"No,
started
you're not."
praying. And they went,
Okay,
all right.
like you're not gonna attack these people. Oh, okay.
Yes. And then the
Well, I don't
rioters
even know
just
if he
went,
said not to attack them. He just started saying a prayer repeatedly, and then they left.
Right.
they just left. It's so good.
But I was trying to figure out who was actually fighting or who was being targeted.
I'm pretty sure
Yes.
it was the racists who were fighting.
The racists
But,
were
you know.
fighting.
Okay.
The Chinese
Makes
were just
sense.
trying to live their lives.
Norton put them in their place.
That sounds about right.
Yes.
Sounds about white, I should say.
Sounds about white. Yeah.
There you go. But after this Kendall Jenner, I have one other story that I mentioned, is that one time, a policeman who wasn't actually a policeman, but was a dignified security guard paid by residents or business owners, arrested the first emperor of the United States for vagrancy. It's horrible.
Oh no.
But
Vagrancy? Doesn't he have a home?
yes, but Lexi, once the charges for vagrancy didn't stick, he was then tried for lunacy by this not policeman.
Okay, well,
Lunacy's a little bit more believable.
Yes, it very
Listen.
much is.
he's not making it out of the hood with that
He's
one. Okay.
not. And what happened with this charge? How was the trial? Well, he didn't get one, as apparently all the local newspapers sprung into action and came to his defense and riled up the entire city to the emperor's defense.
Oh my god.
That same newspaper.
So he didn't get a trial because the charges were dropped.
Yes.
That's,
The newspaper that I mentioned earlier called The Bulletin wrote, and I quote, "In what can only be described as the most dastardly of errors, Joshua A. Norton was arrested today."
dastardly of errors. Bro.
I love the way they write.
Bro,
It's so
what?
good. He's
Dastardly of errors. As if it was an error that this man is not nuts.
yes, Lexi. He's not nuts. He's the emperor. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
But
Put some respect on the name. Come on.
continuing the quote, he is being held on the ludicrous charge of quote lunacy. Known and loved by all true San Franciscans as Emperor Norton, this kindly monarch of Montgomery Street is less a lunatic than those who have engineered these trumped-up charges. As they will learn, His Majesty's loyal subjects are fully apprised of this outrage. Another paper called the Daily Alta wrote, quote, Norton was in his day a respectable merchant, and since he has worn the imperial purple, he has shed no blood, robbed nobody, and despoiled the country of no one, which is more than can be said of the fellows at that line. End quote.
At that line?
The
in that
imperial
line.
purple. What is imperial purple?
Since he became
didn't wear
emperor.
purple. He wears Confederate and Union soldiers.
Yeah, but that's just a
uniforms.
saying, Lexi, for like
Also,
emperors
how
wear
was he
purple.
wearing that in 1861?
What do you mean?
Wasn't the Civil War in like 1860 to
But there was military
1865 or
uniforms
something?
for the United States, hence the blue. But then the Confederates made a gray, so they
Oh,
could.
and then he got
Yeah, back when they
he
split
got
off, I guess
different
they-
ones
yeah.
as time went on.
Yes.
Okay.
After these papers were released in San Francisco and by proxy, the entire United States began to break down. Not really, but it's just fun to imagine. The police chief, Patrick Crowley, released the emperor and apologized for the arrest. And in turn, the emperor didn't have him executed on the spot, and instead issued an imperial pardon for the not policeman who had arrested him. And after all of this, from that moment on, the police officers of San Francisco would salute the emperor when he would pass them on the street.
Why? This guy isn't even dangerous. It's not like you have to worry about him shooting you or
That's
something.
why. Like,
Oh
if they
my
were actually
God.
worried, they wouldn't do this, but they're just like, hey, don't do anything to that guy or it's going to make the entire town riot. Just don't
Oh
do
my gosh.
But there are two long-lasting impacts that the first emperor of the United States put into action. The first is super sweet, and like legitimately it is actually very, very, very sweet. And it's that he might have invented the term king or queen for a day. He would apparently issue this title of king or queen for a day to those who had done a good deed or really needed cheering up that day, especially children. And so he would go up to these kids and be like, oh, you're having a rough day? Well, then I'm going to make you king for a day, or I'm going to make you queen for a day. And that would, of course, cheer the little kids up and stuff. So that's actually extremely sweet.
That's actually sweet. I like that. I like that.
And the other one is that Emperor Norton might have been the inspiration, or at least one of the inspirations, for the San Francisco Bay Bridge. He made a proposal to the city of San Francisco to make a suspension bridge across the bay that ran for 9.5 miles. And while the bridge was not constructed in his lifetime, it was eventually realized in the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, which has had proposals and motions be put forward to rename the bridge to the Emperor Norton Bridge, or simply the Norton Bridge.
No.
They need to do that.
You're joking.
They need to do. I need to go on the Emperor Norton Bridge. They need to make that happen.
It's so good. I know. But every story I seemingly tell on this podcast requires someone to die, doesn't it? And the first emperor of the United States did just that.
As life does.
Of course. On the evening of Thursday, January 8th, 1880, the emperor was headed to attend the monthly debates he would go to at the Academy of Natural Sciences. After he had climbed the last block right across the street from the debate, Emperor Norton collapsed and died on the scene. The next day, multiple papers wrote obituaries about the death of the emperor, and some of them are very heartfelt, and if I'm being honest, genuinely beautiful. I'm going to read Mark Twain's paper in the Morning Call about his obituaries.
Excuse
How far
me?
did this guy? Yes. Yes, Lexi.
Mark Twain, Missouri ass Mark Twain?
Yes,
All the way
Lexi.
in Missouri he was writing
Yes,
about?
Lexi.
Oh my gosh.
Quote, from the Morning Call, Mark Twain's paper, quote, the obituary read as such: on the reeking pavement, in the darkness of a moonless night under the dripping rain, in a hastily gathered crowd of wondering strangers, Norton first, by the grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico, departed this life.
No, Mr. Twain.
Other sovereigns have...
Let Mr. Twain cook.
He's cooking here.
He's cooked other times. He doesn't need to cook this time.
But this is poetry.
It's beautiful poetry, Lexi. Hold on. Other sovereigns have died with no more of kindly care. Other sovereigns have died as they have lived with all the pomp of earthly majesty. But death having touched them, Norton I rises up the exact peer of the haughtiest king or Kaiser that ever wore a crown. Perhaps he will rise more than the peer of most of them. He had a better claim to kindly consideration than his lot, forbade to wade through the slaughter to a throne and shut the gates of mercy on mankind. Through his harmless proclamations can always be traced an innate gentleness of heart, a desire to effect use and a courtesy, the possession of which would materially improve the powerful living princes whose names will naturally suggest themselves. End quote.
Wow.
That is the obituary for a emperor.
Was he paid to write that?
I mean, you made a newspaper. Of course you're going to be paid, but who's like, he didn't have any money.
No, that was poetry though.
It is
That was
actually
very
poetry.
well written.
Too
Nice
bad
to
it was
listen to.
about some random dude in San Francisco.
Okay,
Like, what?
okay. We're all random dudes in San Francisco at the end of the day, if you think
I mean,
about it.
I guess true, but we don't declare ourselves emperors.
Lexi, I just did. I'm just joking.
Listen, it doesn't matter.
is
It doesn't
just
matter where you
very-
come from, who you are, whatever your backstory is. At the end of the day, we are all random dudes in San Francisco.
We are all random dudes in San Francisco. But after Norton's death, he would have had a pauper's funeral, because he had no money, of course, paid for by the city. But the funds for a full-fledged burial and funeral were raised extremely quickly after he was found to only have $5 or $6 to his name. And calls began to come in asking to be allowed a final glance of the emperor one last time. So they had a public viewing planned for the morning, which started at 7 a.m. in the rear room of the morgue. It began to grow, and by noon, they had to call the police to regulate the viewers and direct traffic, as hundreds were gathered outside the morgue to try and see the emperor one last time. And according to two different sources of the newspapers at the time, about 10,000 people came to see the emperor's body on that day. Now, there is a historical myth that the funeral procession was 2 miles long, and this hasn't been proven true, and it's just from one quote that a guy cherry-picked. and that because the entire length from the morgue to the Masonic cemetery in which he was buried was just over 2 miles long. So it's kind of a mistranslation.
Yeah, I bet people were just probably between there and the funeral home.
Yes.
Just in general.
But the Chronicle, the paper I mentioned earlier, said that only three carriages and 30 people were part of the funeral cortege. So still a rather large gathering.
That makes sense.
But that was about it. And finally, in pop culture, Emperor Norton has some very cool, noteworthy mentions. 5 years after his death, Mark Twain would publish The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Oh, you gotta be shitting me, dude.
In which
Did
the
he
character
put him in this no way.
in which the character of the king is modeled after Emperor Norton.
Woo! Let's go! That's my goat!
It's the goat. Lexi, how are you feeling? Are you doing okay?
I mean, Emperor Norton wasn't enough to stop Mark Twain from writing the N-word a bunch in that book, so, I don't call that a win.
Okay, well, you got some
All right.
W's, got some
time,
L's,
I guess. Different time.
We're all just dudes in San Francisco, Lexi. Leave us alone.
Okay.
Exactly.
And between 1912 and 1934, I think it's because that they messed up city planning really early into the building of San Francisco. But apparently the city of San Francisco moved all cemeteries out of San Francisco, which I didn't know about.
Was that because of the water? Was that because of the water? Like
No.
the water table or something? No?
Apparently they were just buried so many people there that all of the cemeteries got full. And then they didn't know what to do with it. And so they like did a stop and said, hey, only important people can be buried here in San Francisco. And then they had to even stop that because it just became too much. And then also, apparently the cemeteries were on very prime real estate. And so then they just moved all the people.
Of course.
Very San Francisco. Yeah.
But they moved all the cemeteries 11 miles away to a town called Lawndale, where they had to move 150,000 dead bodies.
Whoa.
And
There's
Emperor
no way
Norton,
they got them all.
What was that,
I'm just
Lexi?
going to tell you that. There's no way they got them all. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Oh, of course. You also had to pay to have them moved, or they would just get moved into a mass grave. So
yeah, people were
Fun.
definitely paved over.
Yes.
Which is sad.
But Emperor Norton,
that's haunting if you have like an apartment somewhere and then there's just like a bunch of like corpses underneath you. That's kind of badass.
True.
Weird.
That's very haunting. Yes. But Emperor Norton was, of course, one of these people that was moved because he was buried in the Masonic cemetery.
I'm sure that the Masons paid for their people to be moved, I would assume.
Yes. So in 1934, he was reburied with civic and military honors. And he got a new...
Okay.
Just Lexi's reaction of, what? Every time is so good. But he got a new headstone.
Okay, so did he ever actually serve in the military? The answer is no, right?
No.
No, but he was the emperor, so I mean...
Oh, okay. That doesn't mean shit. But
Yeah. The emperor doesn't have to be in the military. He just, he gets
He runs
honored.
the whole military, Lexi. He doesn't need to be in it if he runs it. Come on. But he got a new headstone that remains there to this day from 1934. There's another historical myth that says that tens of thousands were at the reburial ceremony, while in reality only about 200 people were at the reburial, but that's still a lot of
quite a
people.
bit.
Still a lot of people.
Still
though.
a lot. If it was actually
don't even
10,000,
think
that'd be
I-
mental, but 200 is still quite a bit.
I don't even think I know 200 people, so that's still a lot.
Oh, God, no.
All of the subscribers on YouTube. Okay, but
Woo!
my absolute favorite, and this is whenever you mentioned about being gay. I forgot your exact quote. But
Oh,
my absolute favorite, and what will probably make Lexi very happy, in 1964, Jose Sarria, a drag performer, who was the first openly gay candidate to run for public office, by the way, adopted the
wow.
persona Empress of San Francisco Jose the Widow Norton.
oh,
Queen! Slay! Oh, my God.
Oh, goodness.
That's actually really
did
cool.
they
I
win?
love that.
Did they win their office?
I
or
don't
no?
believe they won, no.
Oh.
But the part that's very important is I said in 1964, they secured the burial plot adjacent to the emperor's, where they were buried in 2013 with a headstone that matches Norton's.
Whoa!
Let's go!
It's so good.
That's
so
pretty wild.
good.
Well,
It's
I mean, if
extremely
Norton
good.
didn't have any family, then I mean, it's not
Well,
like
yeah, true. I guess there'd be a
he had
lot
to
of spaces
fight
around him then.
anybody.
Yeah.
Wow, that is kind of slay.
It is very, very
Go
slay.
off, Queen.
And
God,
while
Empress of the Canada. Where the
Canada,
fuck are we? United States. Sorry.
we're all
Alright, can
just
you-
dudes in San Francisco.
We're all dudes in San Francisco. I forgot. Also, Lexi, can you note my bomb? Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Can you note my bomb? But
Stop it. He's gonna have to edit this all out.
he likes it now, but he'll hate it later.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned earlier, Emperor Norton was a very prominent figure, and a lot of people followed him and liked all the stuff that he did as well. There's one last thing that kind of led me on a very slight little rabbit trail that I don't think is worth an entire episode. Emperor Norton's grave is actually a pilgrimage site now,
Excuse me?
Okay.
one that holds a special place in the groups known as the Ancient and Honorable Order of E. Clampus Vitus, the Discordians, and the members of the Cacophony Society, who all claim Emperor Norton as a patron saint.
Okay.
So I looked up these groups. The Cacophony Society was a offshoot of a society of like college students who wanted to just kind of go around and do crazy stuff in San Francisco.
Okay,
They're-
so a frat.
It started as a frat, but then spread, and it was just a thing that lasted. They actually still have a website right now. You can go to, you can look up Cacophony Society, and they have a website that's stuck in 2011 or 2014, and it looks just like that if you want to look at that real quick.
Oh gosh, what's the name of it again?
Cacophony Society. I will send you cacophony.org
Cacophony.
real quick. Here you go. If you just want to put this up on the screen for people watching visually, and if you want to give that a quick description real quick, Eric.
Okay, hold on. Let me give a. I'm gonna be extra with this actually. OBS, open that. We'll get a live reaction.
Wait, why
Okay,
is the
there we
preview
go.
you may already be a member? That is so foreboding.
Oh.
What
Uh,
in the world?
Okay.
What's up?
So, as a description for our audio listeners, I might be on a watch list now. There's the banner is people on fire. There's a clown laughing with experiences beyond the mainstream written in his mouth. Let's see. Last updated over a decade ago.
By Kevin.
There's a billboard that says "Think Disillusioned" with what I think is Gandhi on the front of it.
Oh, that's the Dalai Lama, I think.
Oh, Dalai Lama. Oh wait, and the skull is colored like the old Apple logo. What am I looking at?
I
What
don't
is
know.
Gordon's gin.
Yup.
It messes you up.
It does more than mess you up, Eric.
Can't believe you got a gin named after you. That's crazy.
I
No,
do.
what is this? Is this like a wait? You have about 10,000 taste buds. Kill them all, and it's a McMuffin. What?
So
This is.
this
Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Tell me all about how this ties to Edward Norton, please.
So-
Okay, I have
Emperor,
a quick
whatever.
thing. I clicked on somebody made a documentary about this like a decade ago, and it says on this little poster thing. I don't know how true this is, but Project Mayhem, the group of anti-consumer pranksters portrayed in the book and subsequent film Fight Club, were loosely based on the Suicide Club and the Cacophony Society.
cacophony.
Early member, Chuck something, drew on his experience with the Portland, inspiring the novels Antichrist Cabal, Project Mayhem, homage to his own town, fugitives and refugees, a walk in Portland, Oregon. As the author delving further into his history with the cacophony during the reading
Cacophony.
of Fight Club,
Oh my god.
in San Francisco.
So it inspired Fight Club, is what we
Something to do with Fight Club. Yeah, I'm like, what?
Wait, is that? Oh my god. Everything. It's Emperor Norton all the way down.
It's always
Emperor
goes back
Norton
to
made Fight Club. That is an amazing
Emperor
link.
Norton, Edward Norton. Hold on.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Holy. Oh wow. I never even thought. Oh my god.
just realized
this
that.
is a conspiracy now. This is. Oh, I need to sit down. I need to lay down. I need to hold.
Did you say I need to sit down? Or are you not sitting down?
I'm already sitting down, but I need to sit down more.
I need to sit down more. It's called laying down, Eric.
Oh my gosh.
How
But
do you say that word again?
cacophony.
Cacophony, sure.
Cacophony. Have you not heard the word cacophony before?
No.
I thought you were doing a bit at first.
No, I really don't know how to read.
Oh.
I don't know how to read. Whoops. But
Whoops.
yeah, I went on a very slight tangent and I went to this website and I tried to find anything past this date, right? Because like 2014 seems to be one of the last like public sightings and outings of the Cacophony Society. And so like I tried to look for events. I tried to look for this and this and this and this, and there's just nothing. Like they say they sell merch on their website. But if you click on it, it takes you to, where does it take you again? Hold on, let me click this. It takes you to the Institute for Free Speech with a broken URL.
It's so true.
And so it just really took me on this thing, but it was just such a crazy thing at the very end that I had to mention because I was like, oh, what's the Cacophony Society? Like, oh, that sounds like something made up. And I mean, it is made up, but apparently it was a thing that happened from like 1983 on until it just kind of stopped. But it really does give off the energy of Emperor Norton of just kind of, hey, you can do whatever you say and say whatever you want, and technically it's true. And then very slightly, I looked up the Discordians. I think that's actually a religious group. Discordians. Not
Every
followers
time I
of
hear
Discord.
Discordians, I was going to say, I'm just thinking about like, look, are we Discordians right now? 'Cause
Discord
we're-
Nitro.
Yes, Discord Nitro.
My religion is Discord Nitro. Yeah.
Yes. But the Discordians, you can actually look them up. They are a religious belief system based around Eris, apparently, the Greek goddess of strife and discord.
Discord.
It's
Niche reference.
it's a very niche reference, and you'll occasionally see some things pop up. Like there's a couple YouTube videos from the 2019, 2020, 2023. But like this is also kind of a thing that just kind of popped up for a while and seemingly has kind of passed on and like not happened. But yeah, it's just very odd that even almost, or not even almost, over 100 years after Emperor Norton, he somehow still had like influence among these weird groups of people. Like, sorry if you're a former Discordian or a member of the Cacophony Society, but and then the E. Clampus Vitus, the ancient. Okay, this is just when I looked it up very quickly from copy and pasting because I didn't search this one because it looked like too much to read. But the Ancient and Honorable Order of E. Clampus Vitus is a fraternal organization, so frat, dedicated to the preservation of the heritage of the American West, especially the history of the mother lode and gold mining regions of the area. So it might just be like a...
So because Emperor Norton was so tied to San Francisco, and San Francisco has such a huge role in like mining and the gold rush, so...
Yes.
That
so
makes sense to me.
It very much makes sense to me. So that one's not as crazy as the other two. Sorry, I went to their Wikipedia page and there's just a dude smoking a
Wait,
fat
what?
stoogie and with a bunch of like little pins and stuff. CEO of ECV Chapter 0.75 and founder of the Elephant Temperance Society exhibits a prime example of ECV regalia. So,
oh my god, the name of the image is bigclamper.png.
Big Clamper.png is so good. Oh. Wayward clampers showing their red shirts, tin, and chapter affiliation. It is not uncommon for clampers to share the good news of ECV while traveling, which has led to growth throughout its history. What on earth? This is crazy.
What rabbit hole are we going down right now? This is
weirder.
wild.
It's
I
weird.
take back what I said.
Oh, it is. Okay, I thought you were about to hit me with something crazy.
No, I take back what I said. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, no, never mind. We're not making sense anymore.
No, we're not.
Nah.
Yeah. In 1991, there were 50,000 clampers across 62 lodges. So that's a lot of people. I don't know if they're still around at all, but
Love that.
It's a lot
Pokemon.
of clamping.
that's a lot of clamping. You're not wrong. Yeah, that is the story. We'll get off all of these crazy side tangents, but that is the story of the first emperor of the United States.
He was gone too soon.
He was very much gone too soon. He was also gone too late, as he did live for quite a long time. So, not being mean to the lad, but yeah.
How old was he when he died?
Making me do math? Goodness. 1818
Oh,
to
no.
1880, that'd be 62. Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
that
maybe
was-
52.
Yeah.
I mean, especially all the way back then. That's not terrible.
Yeah, it was,
No,
yeah.
not
Especially
at all.
considering his other brothers didn't survive to adulthood, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
So,
but it's also very
but
funny.
that's kind of how it used to go. Was that like infant mortality is still where like once you make it past the age of like I think it's like 2 or 3, like your odds of making it to a decent age in adulthood are like
very high.
wildly more improved. Yeah.
Yeah. But we didn't touch on this very much, but the fact that his family moved to South Africa, and so then he came here and called himself emperor and stuff, like, it was just a lot in this story that was quite crazy. So
It was just, there was a lot to unpack there.
there was, and speaking of unpacking, we'd love to unpack all these patrons on your screen right now.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that. I was
Unpack these nuts. I don't know.
Unpack the nuts in your mouth.
Yes.
Sorry.
But we'd love to give a huge thank you and shout out to, of course, all of our patrons across Gurdon's Patreon page, as well as Eric Camp's Patreon page. And thank you all very much for the support. We hope that you like these episodes and continue to listen. And Lexi, do you have a pun? I'm going to fuel you up for a pun here if you're thinking of
I mean,
it.
it's just I don't have a pun, but apparently it's
Oh.
just Norton's all the way down. So
Norton's
It's Norton all the way down.
Norton all the way down. We're all just dudes from San Francisco.
Yes.
he lives on by trying to sell you antivirus software.
Oh, and he lives through Edward Norton. Both
That
of
is
those.
true. One is very good. The other is a virus.
The other is a virus disguised as an antivirus. Yes. Don't sue me.
Literally.
Allegedly.
Anti is in the name. How can they be a virus if they're antivirus?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works. If
Like,
you throw
how can
anti.
you not be an emperor if you call yourself an emperor? Big brain.
So real.
I think we're all emperors. Like, if you think about it,
Yeah, we're all emperors in San Francisco.
I would say we're all just some dude in San Francisco. Goodbye, some dude in
Exactly.
San Francisco.
goodbye.